Welcome back to Mrs. Mess Hall, and today we're going to be making a 5-cheese mac and cheese. So if that sounds awesome to you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. So let's get started. So this is everything that you guys are going to need, and we're going to start by just getting some prep done. So we're going to have 5 cloves of garlic, and we're going to peel and mince those, and that's going to go in our sauce. So you want to make sure that they're like finely minced, otherwise you're going to be eating and you're just going to get like chunks of garlic and everybody's going to be coughing. So but I like to start with crushing my garlic because it creates a flatter surface, so that way when you go to start mincing, everything's not rolling around and it can just create like a faster mincing process. And totally, like, if you want to add more garlic, you know, go ahead. Like I said, I did 5 cloves, which would be enough for everybody, but you know, everybody's different. Now we're going to cut up some green onions. So you're just going to cut the wilted tops off, you know, because nobody wants that. And then we're going to just finely dice these. So now we're going to shred our cheese. I chose smoked Gouda, Monterey Jack, sharp white cheddar, sharp yellow cheddar, and Parmesan. So I really like this cheese combination. It really turned out really well, and I was really like satisfied with the taste of the sauce and the taste of the mac and cheese. And you can get pre-shredded cheese, but the problem with pre-shredded cheese and cheese sauces is that when they're industrially shredding this cheese, they coat it in some type of starch, whether it's potato starch, cornstarch, whatever. And it prevents, in shipping, it prevents the cheese from melting back together. So when you go to melt cheese in a cheese sauce, or even like on nachos or something like that, it doesn't want to melt as well. So you can use pre-shredded cheese, but shredding your own cheese is just going to get you a silkier sauce. And now we're going to cook off our pancetta. So pancetta is like an Italian style cured meat, and a lot of people compare it to bacon. So you can use bacon if that's what you like to do. You're gonna get the same kind of flavor profile once the mac and cheese is all put together. But we're just gonna go ahead and fry that up and crisp it up a little bit and render that fat off. Then I just went ahead and put it in a bowl with a few paper towels just to kind of drain the excess oil off of that. Now in the same pot, we're going to add our butter, and I let my pot cool off a bit, guys, because if you add your butter directly to your hot pot, it's just going to burn. Okay, so I just let it cool off a little bit. It's still hot, as you can see, but just not as hot as it was when we were cooking off the pancetta. Then I'm going to add our minced garlic. And you want to make sure that you're adding your garlic in the cooking stage of this butter, because if you go ahead and add it once you have your sauce put together, it's not gonna cook and it's not gonna develop that really like garlic flavor. Now we're just adding some seasonings. I did black pepper, paprika, onion powder, of course salt. Then once that's all cooking together, we're gonna add our flour, and this is gonna make a roux. So the roux is what's gonna thicken our sauce, and a roux is just equal parts fat and flour. So that could be butter, olive oil, vegetable oil, margarine, anything like that, and then your flour. So you're going to want to keep stirring this and cooking it on a relatively low temperature, okay? So you actually do want to cook your roux, not for very long, maybe like a minute, because you don't want it to develop any, darkness, but you do want to cook out the flour taste, okay? So once it starts smelling kind of like nutty is when your roux is ready. And then we're going to slowly add in our milk. And you see how I'm adding it in a couple of additions? This is gonna help thicken up the sauce without scorching your milk. So if you add all of your milk all at once, by the time your sauce is thick, your milk is going to taste burnt, okay? Because you're making your sauce work harder to get thicker, all right? So each time the milk is fully incorporated and the sauce starts thickening up, I start adding a little bit more milk, and towards the end of this, you're going to see that the sauce is still a little runny, and that's fine. you know, because the sauce is still cold. So it is going to still have to heat up and it is going to get thicker. But with this particular sauce and this particular recipe, we're going to be baking our mac and cheese. So the sauce doesn't have to develop its full thickness on the stove because it's going to continue cooking in the oven. So once we get all of our milk added in there, we're gonna, you know, go low and slow with this, and we gotta keep an eye on it. We gotta keep stirring it, otherwise the roux is gonna settle at the bottom and it's gonna burn, okay? Okay, so now that we got all of our milk in our sauce, I'm started by salting my water for my pasta, and I just cooked off a pound of cavatappi, but you can use whatever pasta you'd like. That's elbow noodles, shells, whatever, you know, mac and cheese pasta you fancy. So as you can see, we got our sauce working, and once our sauce gets to a relatively warm temperature, obviously not completely finished, we're gonna start slowly adding in our cheese. Okay, and this is gonna melt slowly, and this is also gonna help thicken up the sauce. So as you can see, I'm like pulling the whisk out. When it's still clumpy like this, that means we're not ready to add in more cheese. Okay, so because we're gonna add our cheese in additions. So once you're pulling your whisk out and it's stringy and nothing's sticking to it, this is when you can add in some more cheese. And we're adding in all of that cheese that we grated. So, and then we're just gonna, you know, keep stirring and keep adding cheese once it's ready. So our pasta's done, and you wanna make sure that you're not overcooking your pasta, because again, this is gonna go back in the oven, guys, okay? So you wanna kinda like do it little underdone, not like totally. And now that our sauce is ready, we're just gonna go ahead and pour half of our sauce over the mac and cheese in the pot, and then we're going to add in our pancetta and our green onions. So we're only starting with half of the sauce, and then we're going to, you know, just mix that together. We're going to pour the remaining sauce into our baking dishes once we get like the noodles and everything in there. You know, but if you're not a fan of baked mac and cheese, you know, then you're done here, right? You just stir in your pancetta and you stir in your green onions, and this is totally, you know, just edible if you're not a big fan of baked mac and cheese. So like this is, you know, the ooey gooey, delicious, you know, saucy mac and cheese right here. But I am a bigger fan of baked mac and cheese. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna spoon in our sauced noodles into these cute little baking dishes that I found at Kroger. And we're gonna just spoon them in evenly. And then once we get enough pasta into these baking dishes, we're gonna pour the remainder of our sauce over the top of this. And I know it's gonna look like a lot of sauce, but when you're baking mac and cheese, if you think you have enough sauce, you do not. You need more sauce, because the sauce is gonna, like I said, it's gonna thicken in the oven. And if you don't have enough sauce, it's just gonna taste dry. And of course, no baked mac and cheese is going to be complete without a breadcrumb topping. So we got some breadcrumbs. We're going to do some paprika, salt, garlic powder, black pepper, and we're just going to mix that all together. Then just in the microwave, we're going to melt half a stick of butter, and then we're going to mix that in thoroughly too. The butter is going to help with like that browning and then, you know, keeping the breadcrumb mixture together. And then of course we need some more cheese. So we're gonna add 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese to the breadcrumb mixture. You can totally add more cheese or different cheese if you're not like a Parmesan fanatic like I am. And so we're gonna top our mac and cheese with our breadcrumb mixture, just like so. And then we're gonna pop it in the oven. I had it in the oven at 350 for about like 10 to 15 minutes. And then if you want to develop a darker color just on the top or on the crust, you can totally throw it in for broil for just, you know, a few seconds. All right, there you have it, my recipe for a delicious baked mac and cheese. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to my channel for easy recipes and step-by-step instructions on how to make delicious food. Thanks everybody, bye.